Alright, this is the presentation and explanation for Death Bunny, the 4-week presentation by me, Chris Mullen. So yeah, let's get started. The goal of this project was to create controllers for a character drawn in Illustrator so that I could animate it in After Effects. So, what I was planning on doing was having a grand fight scene, a grand death scene, and dialogue with a bunch of evil bunnies and maybe one or two characters to kill these bunnies, and it was going to be a great storyline with a lot of bunnies and a lot of death, and I thought it was going to be great. But stuff got in the way of that. There was a little bit of animation with a lot of lip syncing and minimal audio, and what is the deal here? I'm losing stuff on my capture. Okay. Anyways, these are the sources that I used. Ross Plaskow, he's got a lot of great tutorials on YouTube for how to animate with lip syncing. He's also got a great tutorial on how to draw specific characters. And he's also got a lot of videos that are just great references for techniques in animation. And if you can understand what he's doing in his videos, then you can kind of copy those techniques if you get that in depth with his animation. And then Mount Mograph, he's basically the whole reason that I decided to do After Effects. I don't think I would have chosen it if I hadn't. I've been working with After Effects for about 3 years, and that's probably a pretty bad thing to say right before I show you this project, because it's pretty later on down the road. And anyways, do it. This is a great script. This is another deal here. My computer keeps crapping out and cutting out on me, and I don't know what the deal is. Okay. Anyways, in Illustrator, I also use After Effects and Illustrator as well as Audacity. It was really easy, a really easy program to record and export audio really simply. It's a great program. My plan actually consisted of a lot, and it didn't actually end up how I wanted it to. I think I said that before, but rather than just kind of gloating, or not gloating, just sopping in it, I'm kind of proud of what I did, even though my original plan got blown out of the water just by the sheer size of it. I think instead of having a really big idea, you need to kind of have the big idea and then go through it with a lot of small executions. So once you get to Illustrator, maybe focus on the hair and make sure you get the hair right, instead of focusing on the whole entire body and trying to get the whole entire body perfect, while really you just need to get the hair right to fix one thing that you might not even use part of that body in your actual animation. So I think it's important to kind of keep yourself in check, not bite too much off of the steak or whatever. I don't know. My mom says that sometimes. But also, don't expect it all to work. Errors are going to happen. Just try and minimize the problems. Problem solving is also a big thing, because in After Effects, all the controls for Adobe After Effects are completely different than any other Adobe program for some reason. So, like, the selection tool is like, that's a bad example, but the pen tool is like G instead of P, because P is pause for the preview. It's just, it's a mess. So you'll end up doing things that you're just like, why did I do that? Nevertheless, another thing is to create more than you need. I ran out of lips to use. That's a weird sentence that I've never said before, but I did run out of lips to use. When I was recording the audio, I decided that I would just follow Ross Plaskow's guide to lip syncing, and so I made one or two, I think the number was 6. I made 6 little mouths that I could use for different sounds, and I think that it would have been a better idea to make more mouths, because I ended up using the like S and D sound for the same mouth, and it looked decent, but it's definitely, if you have time, create more mouths. And then adjustments are key. That kind of goes into the same thing. So that's where the project is supposed to be in the actual presentation. With that being said, we're going to jump into After Effects, or this is Illustrator rather. I had already done Illustrator in a past project, so this was I don't want to say this was simple, because it's definitely not simple. but it was familiar to me. So I ran through Illustrator pretty quickly. It only took me a this actually, no, I drew this one up specifically in about a day, but the idea to draw this guy took about a whole week. So this mixed with previous characters that I had drawn, mixed with some of Ross Plaskow's guides into actually Ross Plaskow and Mount Mograph. Their guides really helped me with how to rig up the actual character. As you can see, I've got all of this broken down into specific parts, and I think it looks pretty decent. So I had already known Illustrator at the time, so that's a pretty simple start into this. This was the tougher one. So I've been using After Effects for a while, just I've never done anything like this. This is the first time I've done anything like this. Most of the time it was just basic shape layers and stuff like that. Whew, here we go. Okay, so part of Illustrator is you have to make sure that all of your layers are separate. As you can see, they've all got different colors and stuff, so that once you get into After Effects, your composition looks, well, not this messy, but as you can see, there's these little AI things down here, and this is the actual shape layer from Illustrator moved into After Effects, and so it's good to have those separate so that you can move them around, and it's just essential. I can't stress enough why it's essential to do this, because if you don't know After Effects, you won't know that there's just specific things that will go wrong if you don't have them on separate shape layers, but you have to have them on separate layers. Otherwise, you'll just be moving around one big blob, which is essentially what we're doing, like this. You're moving around one big blob, but it's a controlled blob, and if you don't do this, no. Okay, but it's a controlled blob, and if you don't have that, then you're gonna be messed up. So, my mouth is still screwed up. Okay, think we're good. Is this good? Oh, we're good. I gotta do some more stuff to it. Anyways, so back to the controllers. Duik is a great program. This is something that I found from Mount Mograph. He threw it up. It's a free program. They've got a donation page if you really want to do that, but we're cheap high schoolers, so obviously not. But it's a great program, and I would if I could, but I just can't. Anyways, what it does is... What? Alright. None of this is going to be saved, hopefully. But what you're doing is you're creating all these animations and stuff to a specific arm using bones and controllers. So a controller is this thing that I'm moving around here. You can actually add a stroke to it, but don't do that because it'll show up and you'll have all these circles with arrows pointing out and other stuff moving around your composition, and you don't want that. So what this does is it moves around a specific body part. So you can rig it up with bones using the puppet tool. You create a bone using this in Duik, and then you create an IK chain with the controller. And what this does is it allows you to move around the arms, maybe add a little bit of emotion to what you're doing. And it overall just adds a little bit of extra stuff to your animation, and it's really simple too. So as you can see, I've got about 4 or 5 position keyframes down here, and then pupils are a completely different thing, but it just looks better and much more fluid than having nothing going on at all. So I'm going really quickly. Anyways, here we go. Here's where you can see all these position keyframes. There. Sweet. Okay. So the way that you do this is you select a body part. Let's do this. I'll just run through here. So say we want front arm 1. I've got front arm 1 here. And then I've got these bone tools here. I'll make them pop up here. I've got all these 3 bones. So how I create this bone is I use the puppet pin tool. I go through and I click shoulder, elbow, wrist. And that gives me all these three. It would be a puppet thing in the actual FA1 thing. I'm pretty sure I can show you. Yeah, here. They're called deforms, but really it's just a puppet tool. So FA1, FA2, and FA3. So you name them down here, and then you go into do it. You select one. You click the bone tool. And then you go to the next one, click the bone tool, and then you go to the third one, click the bone tool. And then for the third one, you create a controller. So see, I've got CB FA3. So that's controller, back, front arm 3. Don't know what the B is for. But, oh, bone. There we go, that makes sense. And so now I've got this controller that I can move around like this. And that's important because now they're all separate controllers. And what that allows me to do, I can parent them to specific things, and that will allow me to do this. Even, you know, as creepy as it is, it's still pretty cool. And it allows for jumping, running, all sorts of animation, even though none of that happened in this thing. That's essentially how bones work. It's a quick rundown. If you want to learn more, Mount MoGraph has the best animation or best tutorial out there by far. And yeah, so that's all I did. Same thing with the bunny, basically. Obviously a lot less, just the one arm. But yeah, it's essentially the same thing. So here's the most important part of the entire animation that I did. It's the mouths. So I drew all these mouths in a separate layer because basically you have to. It creates a new composition, and then you've got these 2 compositions to go for with your all your separate mouths. So you can have them on different characters and everything. It's lit. Anyways, so you put your mouth's composition where you think his mouth would be, maybe down a little bit right here. That looks good. So you've got your mouth positioned right there, and you drag it to where you want to start talking and all that jazz and such. And then what you do is you go into your mouth's character, you select each thing, sequence layers, and then there's another 1 or 2 things. You'll be able to see this in Ross Plaskow's video has it, and Mount MoGraph might have it. Don't quote me on that. It's possible, but what you end up with is this. So you've got 1 frame, or actually this is 2, so my numbers are messed up, but you've got 2 frames for each little section of mouth or different syllable. And then what you end up with in the actual composition is a pretty cool thing. So you start talking. You start talking back here, but what happens is you go through, and on the time remap thing, it will allow you to select specific keyframes and have that keyframe show up in a specific time period. So you can skip around. So if I wanted to go from, say, 5 seconds to, or 5 frames to like 10 frames and have there be no gap, what you do is you go to time remap, you click 5 frames, go down a little bit you scrub down a little bit like this, click on 10, and then what you end up with is going from 10, or no, excuse me, going from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, and then getting to 10. That's not what you want with Mal's animation, because then you'd be trying to say like do, and then you'd end up going like do la 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 ooh, like something like that, which isn't what you want to do. So what you do is you've got this really cool effect in After Effects, and it's called keyframe holding. And how you get that and it makes the keyframes kind of weird. It makes them squares. It's that you can toggle hold a keyframe. I'm not going to do it because it completely mess up everything. But essentially what happens is you start out here. You've got him showing up with the blank stare mouth. And now you've got him going from the blank stare mouth into I, ooh, meh. Can't really do anything here, but as you can see, all of those animations aren't right next to each other. So there's one that's before the I and the M. So this is the M right here. There's one before that, and then between this one and this one, there's one in between that. But as we go to the character, whoops, nope. As we go here, as you can see, he goes from this to that, and we haven't even seen that one in this one yet. Oh, there it is. Okay. Well, you get the point. So you can skip around in a composition using the time remap as well as keyframe holding. And I think that was pretty cool. And that's essentially all I did for 4 weeks. So the majority of my time was spent storyboarding and actually figuring out what I wanted to do with my character and having his death bunny show up and talk for a whole of 50 seconds and everything like that. So that's all I did, and that's how I mastered After Effects and Illustrator and everything like that. So hope you enjoyed. I'm dying. See ya.